with us Dr. Geeta Patil, Associate Professor, Department of ISC, BMSIT Bangalore. So she is having 60 years of experience. She has completed her PhD from BITS Pilani, Goa. So she is good in all programming languages, mobile app development, and Verilog computation, everything. So welcome to her once again. So I'll hand over the session to Geeta Patil ma'am. Ma'am, please continue.
Yes, thank you, Sureka ma'am. Can you all hear me? Good morning. A quick reply, please. Yes, thank you.
You left the meeting.
ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಜಾಯ್ನ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದೀನಲ್ಲ ತೋರಿಸ್ತಲ್ವಾ?
Yeah, give me a minute. Let me share my screen. Yes. So I welcome you all to this mobile application development using Android OS FTP, and myself, Dr. Geeta Patil, from Department of Information Science and Engineering, PMS Institute of Technology and Management. Today's learning objective is going to be, I'll be dealing with activity design. I believe that when you are design is very important step in application development, or when you it's like when you're constructing a house, the blueprint, you start with the blueprint of the house is important, and without blueprint everything will go haphazard. The similar way, design of an activity is very important parameter, and it should be done very carefully. And that is what is going to be the agenda, the first topic of my today's presentation. After that, after having design in hand, we will be dealing with various events. So the second point, what I'm going to discuss is event handling. And based on this
share your screen.
I have not shared. Oh yeah, sorry. Let me do it. Yes, I have shared it. Let me stop sharing and do it once again. Yeah. Can you all see my screen?
No, ma'am.
It is visible, ma'am. Ranjit sir, can you try refreshing your page?
Yeah. See now, I'm sharing the presentation. Is it coming?
No, ma'am. It's
Yes,
not coming.
ma'am.
Maybe
Yes,
I'll
ma'am.
take
Coming,
refresh
ma'am.
it sometime.
Yeah. Thank you. So can I continue? You can take a minute and just check, refresh, and check it. Yeah. So if it is visible to some of you, can I continue? So base what I was the third agenda is we are going to have hands-on app development, like exercise, and then based on these three topics, you are going to have takeaway app. So this is the agenda for my next 2 hours. So let's start with it. Yesterday we had very good session from Dr. Vishwakiran sir. He have introduced all the basic components what are required when it comes to mobile application development in very good way. So we will move ahead taking some inputs from there in today's presentation. So there are two major components when you are developing an app. There are two major components which we look at. One is design, the blueprint of your app. So it is design, it gives the user interface. Okay, and it is if you are let's say like I'm sharing my mobile over here. If I am opening some app on my mobile, let's say like I am opening some calculator. Let me take this app calculator. So now what you can see on this app, various buttons which are present, okay, then the operations which are present, is all is a part of design. It is a part of user interface, and it is taken by XML file. Activity underscore main.xml is a default design file which is used. Okay, it gives a layout, it gives us blueprint. So that is what is design is all about. And then comes the functionality. So when you are clicking on button 1 of calculator, what happens is you will be able to the number 1. If I click on this number 1, it came in the text field. I click on the next number 2 gets appended with the previous field which is present in this text field. So this is about the functionality. When you are doing some activity with the components which are present in your XML file, in your design, what exactly happens, what should happen is taken care by the program which is written in Java file. So behavior is defined by Java file and the design is taken care by XML. So these are two important components of any app. So, so let us go through the design phase first. Okay, so uh, layout is going to define the structure of user interface. How exactly user is going to have a look and feel of it is defined by layout. There are various kinds of layouts which are present. I have listed 3 of them. So we have linear layout, in which various views, various components or elements are laid down, are aligned in single direction. They can be a vertical direction or horizontal direction. Vertical direction meaning like elements will be placed along with y-axis, and horizontal direction elements are placed along with x-axis. Then the second is relative layout. In relative layout, it displays all the components, all the child elements in relationship with each other. Constraint layout is similar to relative layout but with additional functionality, and it gives flat view hierarchy. Okay, the programming done in constrained layout is such that it offers better performance over relative layout, better performance in terms of maybe time. So in today's, apart from this three layout, there are other layouts like grid layout, list layout, and so many other layout. But majorly these are the layouts which are used in the design. So out of all these three layout, I will be concentrating on constrained layout because it gives more flexibility and it is it gives a better performance over other layouts. So when it comes to the constraint, what do you understand by constraint? Can we make this session a little interactive so that even like I'll have a feel of somebody is listening to me? What is constraint? Constraint is limitation, right? We are putting some limitation. We are putting some restriction. Similarly, when it comes to designing something by using constraint layout, the components of that design, which are called as views, there are constraints which are put up on the views. So we have over here, let's say like if this is a view, okay, this is an element. Now this element can be anything. It can be a button, it can be a text field, it can be edit field, or it can be like a scroll bar, anything, right? Any component which is visible on user interface is called as view. Now the view will has four parameters associated with it. This view A has a left parameter. This is a right parameter associated with it. The right hand side, if you are seeing my screen, the right hand side is a right parameter associated with it. Then we have top parameter and bottom parameter. Apart from this, there is this baseline. Okay, baseline of the text. This is a baseline of the text. So this four things: top of a view, bottom of a view, left side of the view, and right side of the view are used for limiting the movement of that particular view. Okay, left side. Apart from the left side, we can use the terminology start, and apart from the right side, we can use the terminology end. Okay. So let me show this constraint specification with respect to Android. The Android Visual Studio. Let me open it. So here I'm just creating a new project. Create a new project, and in this new project, I'm selecting the empty activity. Click on it and press on next button. Then I'm just specifying, okay, the name of the project. So let me put it as constraint specification, because that is what I want to explain over here. So the name of the project I'm giving is constraint specification. So this project is saved in this particular package com.example.constraint specification, and then you have the same location is specified over here. Language, what I'm going to use is Java. Apart from the Java, there is this Kotlin language, but we are going to use Java, and I'm using Android 5 Lollipop version of it. And then finish. So this new constraint specification project will be created. It takes some time to do it. So maybe you can take this as a tip. When you are doing Android programming, first thing, you should be patient. It does take some time. It is configuring the project, and it is loading the essential files which are required. Still, it will take some more time. So this is what we were discussing. Design is the layout of your app is defined in this file activity underscore main.xml, and the functionality of this is defined in the file main activity.java. Okay, main activity.java functionality is defined and design is defined in activity underscore main.xml. So still it is loading. Let it start, and then we will. I'll be discussing the constraints. So your app, what you're going to develop, is consisting of these 3 folders. So we have manifest folder where various configuration details are stored in Android manifest.xml file. Java main activity.java is available under Java folder. Under Java folder, we have this package what we are going to use for our app. So in this case, in that we will have main activity.java file. By default, it will be loaded, but otherwise you should know where it is located. And design file is available in RES folder. RES stands for resource. Okay, so in RES folder we have a layout. In layout we have activity main_main.xml. So currently this is the file which is open, activity _main.xml. So in this there are 3 views. You can see the code view of it. This is the code view of it, the XML file which is present, and we have a design view. Design view is like you can see how user is going to have a look and feel of it. So by default, this text field hello world, the text will be loaded on your interface. So let me delete it, and then let us start with right from the beginning. So what I'm going to do is we will add one button. So we have a palette over here. If this is closed, you can see this palette present to the left hand side. Just click on it. You'll be able to see various components which are present. So there is text, buttons, widgets, layouts, containers, and so on. So under every tab, variation of that will be available. So in buttons, I'll just go and we'll take one simple button. I'll drag and drop it over here. So you can see that this blank thing, what is there is a layout. Right, on this blank thing we have inserted a button. Right, now see the location where I have inserted is over here, but when you're going to run this program, okay, build this particular app, let us see the location of button. So to do that, I have connected my mobile over here. Okay, the app will be loaded on the mobile device. So I'll just run it, and then project will be, Gradle will build the project. So we'll wait and it will get loaded. Let us see where the button will be placed. Now right now we have not put any constraint on the button. Right, we have not specified any location. We have not given any location to this button view, button element. So we will be seeing, if you are not doing it, where exactly it will be placed. Right. So yeah, Gradle. So you can see Gradle build is still running till the configuration is happening. And once it is done, it will be installing it. So now install, you can see install one more process, right? So that is come. And let me share my mobile screen with you. So this is exactly what is being shown. Button is placed right over here, right on left top corner of the application. Button is placed, but you can see in your the design. Okay, it's mode. Way I move my mobile, it's going to move. Yeah. So in the design of your app design, the button is placed over here. But that when you are building your project, that is not what is going to happen. Now, how do we move this button? How do we restrict the movement? How do you decide upon the placement of the button? Is decided by constraint layout. Now, what do we do is, like, let me move. The button is there in your view. Button is there right on top, right? Button is there right on top over here. We have to move it down, right? So to move this down, what do we do is we will be putting the constraint. So a constraint can be put up by using this 4 connectors. These 4 connectors are called as handles, right? We have what we said is we have a top handle, we have this as a bottom handle, we have start handle also called as left handle, and we have end handle also called as right handle. Now I want to take this button down to the app. So to do that, I will just click on this down bottom handle, and I will take it at the end. The moment I do this, button is glued at the bottom left corner of your app. So let us execute it once again. Let's run it once again, and then we'll look at the placement of button. See again, Gradle build is running, so it is done. Yeah. So you can see the button is placed over here down, right? I hope you can see it. Can you all see my mobile screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, yes, thank you. So now we have placed it down. How are we going to take it to it's in left hand side? Now we have to take it to the right hand side. Now how are we going to do it? How are we going to take it to the right hand side? Take this right handle and just drag it to the right of this main activity, main panel, main layout, right? So we have done it. So we can see this dark highlighted handles we have got. So like we have restricted the movement of this button downwards and towards leftward. So when we do this, the button, what we are seeing, sorry, button, what we are seeing over here, this corner will be moved to bottom right corner. So let us do it, run it quickly. So Gradle build running happening, and yeah, it is done, installed. So you can see that button is moved. right? Then it is glued to the bottom of the parent. Okay, and let's do this. We will glue it. We will attach this. We'll link this handle with the top of the parent. When we do it, button will be pulled from top and bottom this equally, and it will be placed right at the center vertically. Similarly, when we have glued it to the right hand side, and when we connect this left hand side with the with the start of the parent, or start of the button with the start of the parent, button will be placed right at the center. So let us see whether that happened or no. So we have the app installed and button is placed right at the center. So this is exactly what happens in case of constraint layout. By default, you're not putting that, there are no constraint on the element, on the view. You have to place the constraint. Now let's say like you have constrained this button from all the sides, but you do not want it right at the center horizontally. Then what are you going to do? You can shift. Let's look at the code view of it. Okay, before moving ahead, let's look at the code view. When you're doing this activity, in the design, let's see how code is getting affected. So in this case, in XML, we have a button. The idea of the button is it starts with @ID/button is the ID of the button, and then the layout width of the layout, it is wrap content. Okay, based on the text present in that particular button, the content, the width of the button will be decided. We have height. Height is also decided by, like, the font size. Then the text over the button is the text, so you can change it. Maybe like let's take it as button space 1 is the text which is present on the button, and then these are the constraints based on the constraints what we have put in the in your design phase. These parameters are added. We can see the bottom with app layout underscore constraint bottom underscore to bottom of. Okay, so constraint bottom is the parameter which is used. Constraint bottom is constrained, bottom is restricted to bottom of. Okay, to bottom of. Whose bottom are we constraining it? Where have we attached, where have we set the connection? We have set it with respect to parent. So is equals to parent. Right now we are having only a parent and button on it. So like bottom of this button is constrained to the bottom of parent. Similarly, top of the button is constrained. See, layout underscore constraint top underscore to top of parent. Top of this button is constrained with the top of parent. And we have start of the button is constrained to the start of parent. Instead of this, you can write, there is another constraint which is available. So constraint left, you can say so instead of start, you can say constraint left of parameter also can be used. Okay. Then we have constraint end of the button is constrained with the end of parent. Okay, constraint end is equals to underscore to end of. Whose end of? Parent. So this is the code which will be generated when you are putting constraint. Okay, any doubt over here? Maybe let me check if anything is there on. Yeah. Any doubt? You can unmute and ask about the constraints, or you can put it in the chat box as well. Is it clear? Yeah. Okay, thank you. So let's move ahead, and we will take one more example. Okay. So now let's say let's add one more button. Okay. See, we can add or and set parameters by using two ways. One is through this code, through the code you can do it, or through the design phase you can do it. At the design phase you can do it. So now let us add one more button. So I'll just drag and drop. Let's do it from the design point of view. So when I add one more button, by default this button will go, if you're building this app, by default button will go and sit in this left top corner. There are no constraints. See, all these handles, left, right, top and bottom are not highlighted. There are no constraint, absolute no constraint for this particular button. And when you go to code and see the code associated with this button, see these parameters are missing. There are no constraint associated with this button. Right. So now let us put the constraint in such a way that this button will be placed to right of button 1. Okay, for button 1, this is the right hand side, right? So to the right of button 1, this button 2 should be placed. So let us go to the code and make these changes. So let me name this button as button 2. Right? And let us put those constraints. We do not want this default absolute X and Y constraint. So to put the constraint, we can write the code easily. Let's constrain the top of button 2 with the top of a parent. Okay, so I just take constraint top to top of. Now who's top of? We will be saying it to parent. Okay, colon and with it, and bottom of the button should be constrained with bottom of parent. So we'll put these two parameters over here, bottom to bottom of parent. Okay, this is second way of specifying the constraint what I am showing. Then we after doing this, what do I want is, I want this button. Sorry, see, you can see button 2 is button 2 went over here. Top of the button is constrained with top of parent, and bottom of the button is constrained with bottom of parent. Now the start of the button, okay, that is this anchor, this handle, should be constrained with the end of button 1. Start, let me say it once again, start of button 2 should be constrained with end of button 1. So I'll go to the code and specify it. So I'll just type constraint start to the end of. Okay, so I'll write over here end of. Now whose end of? Are we doing it with parent? No, we are not doing it with parent, but we are doing it with ID of button. ID button. See, ID button is the identifier used for a button with text as button 1. Okay, so start of button 2 is glued to the end of button at the rate ID plus my plus is not coming here. At the rate of plus ID button, right? So we will go and see the design of it. No, it's not glued. 1 minute. Let me do it from the design, and let us see. So this should be glued over here. Yeah. Let us see the code, what is generated for it. Yeah. Maybe we had done it with wrong constraint. So layout underscore constraint start of button 2 is glued to end of button, right? Or let me change the idea of it for simplicity purpose. Let me take it as button 1. Okay, to the end of button 1, and then this is what will happen. So let's execute and see whether the placement of button 1 and button 2 is done correctly or no. Still waiting. So install. Yeah. So you can see in the mobile we have button 1 followed by, and to the right of button 1, button 2 is placed like this. Right? There is no gap. Now, how do we go about adding the gap? Okay, the question is, how do we go about adding the gap between button 1 and button 2? So there is where the next parameter called as margin comes into picture. So we know that button 2 should be placed to the right of button 1, but with specific distance, but by leaving the margin. So now let's say, like in the code only, I'll just move this button slightly. So when I do this, and in the design we have moved it. Let's see the code. So in the code you can see the margins from the start. What is the margin? How much is the margin? What is left is shown over here. It's 28 dp. 28 what is it? Density pixel are left. I mean from button 1. So when we see now. There is one more view called a split view over here, where code and design can be seen in parallel. So I'm just taking that view, split view, code and design is shown in parallel. So now if I'm moving these buttons furthermore, what is changed over here? Margin start, it changed. It is 48, right? Margin start. Similarly, you have margin top, margin bottom, margin end, or margin left and margin right. These are some of the parameters. These are the parameters which are used for setting margins of multiple views present with you, present in your layout. Right? So let us execute it and see the placement of button once again. Yes, so you can see now there is a gap between button 1 and button 2. Button 2 is placed in with constraint with respect to button 1, and there is this spacing. All right. So this is all about margin, and in this design, if we are let's say like to design view, so this button 1 is placed right at the center, right at the center vertically and horizontally. Now I want to move it little towards left. Okay, by default it is placed center. So if a bias is 0.5%. So if I move it little left, okay, the alignment, the bias value will be introduced. So let's look at the code of button 1. If you want specifically to go to the code of button 1, you can just click it and go to XML. If you are having multiple components, multiple views with you, then you can do this, right click on the view and then you can say go to XML. Your cursor will go and wait at the corresponding code of that view. So in this case, you can see the bias value is introduced. Horizontal bias is 0.371. Okay, otherwise by default it was 0.5. It is placed right at the half, middle. Right? Now it is bias is made as horizontal bias is 0.371. So if you make it 2, let us see, let us make it 2 bias as 2.2 and see what is happening. See, still it is moved to the left hand side. So this entire screen is taken as 1. If it is taken as 1, middle of it is half. So it is by default it is half, that is 0.5. If you want to move it to left, then you have to set horizontal bias. If you want to move it to top, you have to set, or if you want to change this setting for vertical, vertical placement, then you have to go for constraint vertical bias element. So let us see what happens when I'm changing the vertical bias. Let me enter over here and just type vertical vertical bias. Okay. Yeah. So layout constraint vertical bias, I'll make it as 0.2. When I make it as 0.2, this will be placed over here. Okay, the position of this is placed over here. All right. So this is the next important factor, which is about biasing. Okay, bias towards left or right is decided by horizontal bias field, and the placement towards up or down is decided by vertical bias field. Next is, yeah, so in this like topic so far, what we have covered is we have covered the specification of the constraint. So there are like 4 types of constraints which we can put: bottom, top, start, and end. And constraint can be with respect to the parent or any other view or element present in your layout. Second is we have seen the concept of margin. Okay, margin is the distance from the constraint put. From the constraint put is important. Unless if you do not have the constraint put it in the direction margin field, margin will not work. Right? So that is about the margin. So yeah. So we have margin start, margin end, margin top, and margin left parameters. And the third thing what we have learned is bias. Bias is alignment, okay, towards particular end. It is set by these 2 parameters: horizontal bias and vertical bias. All right. If all these things are clear to you people, let us move and do the exercise. See, I said it is hands-on session, so I'll be explaining the concept, and based on the concept explanation, you people are going to design something. Yeah, so this is what I have explained: constraint specification. To do the constraint specification, these are various parameters which are available, which I have explained, and the margin, yeah, the distance from the constraint is a margin. Again, I have explained this. So these are various: margin start, margin end, margin left, margin top, margin right, and margin bottom are various parameters which are used for setting the constraint. Now, yeah, so now look at this is the example 1 which you are going to design by by doing the constraint specification. So we, in this design, our activity, our layout has 3 buttons: button 0, button 1, and button 2. The label of these buttons are BUT0, BUT1, BUT2. And you can see button 0 is constrained, the start of button 0 is constrained towards start of parent, End of button 0 is constrained to the end of parent. Similarly, for button 1 and button 2, start of this button is constrained to the start of parent, and end of button 1 and button 2 is constrained with end of parent. Then also see, you can see that this arrow is marked over here. That means top of button 0 is constrained with top of parent. And the margin from the top is set to 100. Okay, consider that you're using rep content. Okay, top margin is set to 100. Similarly, button 1, the third constraint is put up on the top. Top of button 1 is constrained with bottom of button 0. It is glued to the bottom of button 0. Okay. Button 2, top of button 2 is constrained with bottom of button 1. And margin from top for button 1 is 50. Similarly, margin for button 2 from top is 50. So this is what we want to design this in our program. So how do we go about it is, so let me delete whatever components which are there in this layout. 2 buttons we have put. Let me delete it. Okay, and let us do this activity from coding perspective. So I'm inserting the button over here. Okay, by default these 2 parameters come. Android layout underscore width, the width of button. Width of button is match parent. Sorry, let's not do it as match parent. Wrap content for height, I mean width also. Let me take it as wrap content. Height also wrap content. Something got deleted, so you can see some red line over here. What got deleted is the closing anchor for this button tag, button element. So I have put it back. So next parameter which I want to set is the ID. So just type ID. I want to give some ID. I want to refer this button down. So I want to give ID to the button. So usually the convention what I follow is I'll use for buttons I'll use BUT. For text I'll use TXT followed by the ID name. For edit view TXTV followed by the ID name. So I'll button BUT and I'm saying button 0 is the ID associated with it, and when you give it, okay, see, you can see that this is shown in red. Why it is shown in red? Because it's not correct. So when we give the ID, it is given, it is like it starts with @ okay, @ plus ID / button 0. So this is the identification. You can identify this component by this name button 0. And after giving this, I want to change the text. So Android :text property, and I'll give the text as button 0. This is the name of text. Okay. Then what else do we have to set? We have to set, after doing this, let us talk about setting the constraint. So we said left constraint left is set to, or constraint start, let me take it as constraint start is mapped with start of parent. It is mapped with start of parent. Then constraint end is set to end of parent. I put it as end of parent. Then we, for this button 1, we have constraint put up on the top. So constraint top to top of parent. So these are the 3 constraints we have put up. And after that, we want the margin, right? We want the margin from top. So what is the parameter to do it is top margin. The Android layout underscore margin top. So how much of margin do I want? 100 dp. density pixel. Okay, dp is the unit which is used for measuring the distance and you're placing the element. Then after this, what else is required for that for this code? Yeah, we are in split. Yeah. See, these are the three things which are put up and we have done it successfully. Now again, so one button is placed and then we have set up different parameters which are required for this button. We have done it successfully. Now let's move ahead and add the next button. Okay, so button element we are adding, it is capital B U. We got a help on it. So ending width is the same parameters we will be setting. Web content, height again web content, then ID of the button I want to set it as @ plus ID followed by the ID name. So it is button 1 is the ID for this button, and I want to set the text. So text of it is button 1 is the text which will be displayed on top. Now what are the constraints which are required? So button 1, okay, button 1 constraint is start of button 1 is constrained with start of parent, end is constrained with end of parent, top is constrained with bottom of button 0. So these are the three constraints which we need to specify. I'll go back to Android Studio and do the specification of this constraint. So start, if I type start also, we get various helps over here. So constraint start to start of what? Parent. Okay, so start is constrained with start of parent and is constrained with end of parent. Then the top of it, top constraint top is constrained with, see what are the different options? Constraint top to top of, constraint top to bottom of. Okay, so we will choose this. Top is constrained to bottom of whose bottom? Bottom of button with text as button 0. ID of that button is @ plus ID / button 0. But 0 is the ID. So I'll select this. So the constraints are put up. Now after this, we have to see, when you look at it, you get a continuous, like two buttons, button 0 and button 1. We want a gap between button 0 and button 1. How do we put that gap? Is by using margin parameter. Which margin? Now top margin. Right? So top margin top. Margin top is the option. How much of the gap as per the design? As per the design, we have to place it 50 dp away. Button 1 needs to be placed 50 dp away from button 0. So I will go back and put it as 50 dp. Right? So now let's see, go back to the design and see. It is placed like this. It is placed as per our requirement. So when you are developing any app, first is you should have the blueprint of your design ready. It should be available in your paper, and then go ahead and design it either in the code view or a design view. So now third button we have to add. So adding the third button, I can copy paste this code, right? I'll have to change some parameters, but otherwise it remains the same. Okay, so button, I want to change the ID of it. It's button 2, button 0, 1 and 2. So let me write it as a label. I'll change, text I'll change to button 2. Start of it is glued to parent of it and is glued with the parent. See in the design it is said button 2 start is with the start of the parent and is with the end of the parent. Top is glued to button 1. This is the parameter which we have to change. So I will go over here. So top of button 2 is glued, is connected, is constrained by bottom of, whose bottom? Bottom of a button with label as button 1. The ID of a button with label as button 1 is but 1. That is what I will change over here. So but 1. And yeah, from there, from button 1, the placement of this button 2 should be 50 dp away. So that is what we have got. So that is all about designing your views in the layout, in the constraint layout. So let's once execute this and see whether we have got the required thing in our mobile. Okay, see, Gradle, we're running. Yeah, installation happened, and this is what we have got in our project constraint specification. This is what we have got, and that is what we wanted. It's not like whatever is being, like whenever we are adding some views parameters, we are going to take it as they are. We should have our specification, and as per our specification, we are designing our layout. All right, any doubt? Let me check the chat once. Yes, anything, any doubt over here? Is this fine? I'll just wait for maybe a minute to take your inputs. All right. Yeah. All right, then fine. Let's move ahead. So the example 2 is about constraining different elements vertically, and this is these are the specifications.
Hello.
Yeah.
Ha, ma'am. See, you've done 3 buttons relative to other buttons, right? Can we do all other 2 buttons with respect to left, right, and top and end margins directly?
With the parent?
Yeah, correct.
Yes. If you do it, if we are constraining it, I mean, like all those 4 handles are constrained with respect to the parent, then button is placed right at the center.
Okay.
Let's do it. And then each and every button, if you're using the same parameters, it will be placed on the center only.
No, with respect to changing the values where it should be. Because wherever we place, we can have that, this one, right? No, it can be done like that. Changing the distance from top or parent from every time, can we place that 3 buttons differently?
The alignment of it like this?
Yeah, correct. That alignment can be done through parent, maybe if we need.
Yes, you can do it.
Okay.
You can do it. With respect to the parent, yes. Because one more parameter is required over there, bias. If you're changing the bias, the placement of the buttons is going to change.
Okay.
Correct. By default, if you're not setting the bias, it will be centrally aligned center at the center. So if you want to change the horizontal direction, you have to change the horizontal bias, vertical direction.
Yeah, that is what I
asked. It will be done. But then, what is the advantage of not doing this? If, aligning it with different components is that if you're changing this button 0 down, then all 3 buttons, the changes will affect to all 3 buttons. You can see over here, I'm moving it.
Correct.
Yeah, so that is relative with each other.
That will miss in that.
Yes, so otherwise you'll have to align all other buttons relatively.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Anything? Any other doubt? Yeah. Okay. So I think we have the similar exercise in which these three buttons are, constrained with respect to top and bottom of parent, right? And they are like glued to each other from the start. First button, the start of the first button is with respect to start of the parent. Start of button 1 is glued to end of button 0, and start of button 2 is glued to end of button 0. And you can see the margin from the start of button 0 is 40 dp. Start of button 1 from button 0 is 30 dp, and start of button 2 from button 1 is 30 dp. Okay, so if you can take it as a takeaway problem, since because of the time constraint we need to move ahead. So you can design it. If you have installed Android Studio, you can very well design it. If there are any doubts, you can get back to me. So that was all about layout. Right. So now the next topic is about activity. Once the layout is fixed, we have not done any activity over here with respect to this button. We have not done any activity. You just click on any button, nothing. Oh, sorry. The moment when I move my phone, this display also moves. Yeah. So when you are clicking on this, nothing is happening. Why? Because we have not touched Java file. Now, if you want something to happen, we'll have to edit Java file. And how to do all those things, we will see with this simple calculator example. Okay. So we will design this first. Let's design this layout. This layout has, like heading, simple calculator. Then we have enter number 1, followed by a text field to enter that. Then enter number 2 is a label what we have, followed by the input parameter, and the result field followed by the input parameter. And then we are having this 4 buttons: button add, sub, mul, and div are the 4 buttons. Now this is the specification what I have given you. When I'm giving you a specification, you need to decide what are the different components which are required for implementing this specification. So there are 2 things. Okay, when we are looking at the various components which are available, I click on text. You can see there is a text view and there is a plain text. Right? Text view is used for displaying the text which user will not edit. Okay, text view is used for displaying the text which user should not edit. For example, the name of our that calculator, simple calculator, the user should not be editing it. Or user does not have any role over there when he is using that app, right? So that will be given by text view. And then there is something called as edit text. Okay, if I just take this component and put over here, this, let's go to XML and see, it's the edit text. Okay, plain text is a edit text. So this edit text, as the name suggests, user can edit it. If you want to take some input from the user, you have to use edit text. Edit text can be modified. I mean, like a user can give input through edit text. But please note that this text view can be changed via program. When you're writing your Java code, you can change the values present in the text field, text view or text field. Right? So look at the design now. I do not want it over here in my project, so I'll just delete it. So look at this. Let's look at the specification. So simple calculator, enter number 1, enter number 2, result, and the result field over here. is something which user should not modify, which user should not change. So all these 5 fields are text views, right? All these 5 fields are text views. User should enter in this field. Enter number 1, this field what is specified over here, user should enter, you give the input, so it is edit text. Similarly, enter number 2, user should change this, so it is edit text. And apart from this, there are 4 buttons. So your calculator will have this 5, I mean this whatever, this many components: 5 text views, 2 edit views, and 4 buttons, right? So these are the components which are there. We'll have to do it in a program. Okay, now look at it carefully. See, what do you have to do? You'll have to see, as per the specification, the simple calculator, it's not in default black color. The color is changed. You can see the color as purple. You have to set the color of this text to purple. All this text, in fact, all the text which is there in this layout, set the color of it to purple. Yeah, I think next this will show us the required specification. So we have a simple, we have font color of all the text as purple there. Text, I mean simple calculator, it is a text view, and I am giving the name as txt v title. Is it compulsory? No. You can give any name of your choice. It will work great. A font size, I am specifying as per my design. I want it to be 28 sp. You have to figure out where to set it and all. Next, what is the content which is shown is enter number 1 and enter number 2. The 2 labels. Okay, again they are text view. The component name is text view. The name is text v num1 and text v num2. You can give it anything, but just for my when you're doing the program, for our understanding, for the simplicity, I'm giving this as the names. Font size is 26 sp. The result, text v result. Text view, it is text v result. Font size is 26 sp. Sorry. Yeah. Display result display. See, result is different than the result display. I'll just take it on top. Yeah. So result is this text view, and result display is this part where the result will be displayed. So result display is also text view, and name of it, what I'm setting it as text v result, and the font size is 26 sp. Okay, this is as per my specification. You can design it the way you want. Apart from this, what else is required is the name of these buttons. It will be but add, but sub, but mul, and but div. Name of this edit views is going to be txt. What is this? Num1, txt, num2, and txt result. These are the names what I'm going to use. So let us go ahead and do the first part, is designing as per the specification. So I will just close this constraint project, close project, and let me create a new project. Okay, new empty activity. The name of it is, let us give it as my calculator. It will load. Okay. It will take some time for loading the new project. Let's be patient. Let us take this in parallel so that we can see it quickly and work with it parallelly. Look at the specification. Yeah, got loaded. Let me look at activity and a code of it. Sorry, let us design this layout in the design view. So by default, this hello world comes. Let me delete it. We do not want it right now. Let's design it right from the scratch. So we are having a text, and a simple calculator is a text view. So just put it over here. Now this is constraint. This is constraint from top, start and ends. Simple calculator is constrained from there. Now how can we set these parameters is by using this attribute. Okay, so attribute, what are the things what we have to set is we have to change the id. The id what I'm using over here is txt. What is the id? Let me just refer it. txt v title. This is the title of app, so it is set to txt title. I want to change the name. Name of this is, you can change in the common parameters. One minute, I think it is giving some issue. Let us do it through code. So I always prefer to do the things through code. It is easy. It happens fast as well. So what is the text of it? Simple calculator. Somehow my system is taking some time for responding. I don't know, let me just delete this once. Not happening. Project. Create new project. I do not know for what reason it is not responding, so I'm just creating new project. Loading. We do not want hello world. Let me just delete it. And let us do it through the code only. Maybe 1 minute. Okay, let me delete it from the code. Text view. Anyway, we are inserting the text. Or let us mod. 1 minute. Text view. So width of this is, let me put it as wrap content. Height of the layout, wrap content. By default, this got deleted. Then text of it. Okay, let's work like this. So text of this is, what is the text? Is simple calculator. Then we have specified the text size, and the text size is 30 sp. Text color is also specified, and it is specified as this. 1 minute. Color equals to coming text color is @color/purple. So I want to use this shade. You can use any shade of your choice, but when the specifications are given, you should be doing it as per the specification. So text color, I'm specifying it as purple. Then after this, let us specify the constraints. Okay, so this is constraint start is glued with the parent. Okay, it is constrained to the start of parent. Then constraint and is to the end of parent. Then constraint top is to the top of parent. These are the constraints what we have specified. Apart from this, now margin. From top we want it to be 100 dp down. So margin top is the parameter which is going to do it. So margin top is equals to 100 dp. Right? So let's look at the design of it and see whether this all things are done. So this is what is required, and that is done. Right? So let's move ahead, and I'm keeping this in parallel. Yeah. Let's just go ahead and put the next text field. So next, have we set the ID of this, which is important parameter? No. So ID is important parameter. ID of this is set as ID txt text view. Name of this is, I think, title or something, right? So let me put it as title. Anyway, we're not going to use it or change it anywhere, but it is, name is title. Now let us go ahead and set enter number 1 and the corresponding edit field from the design. So I'll select from the text, I'll select this text view and put over here. Okay, and let us try to do the changes here. So name of this is text v number 1. Okay, I'm comfortable doing it in the code. Otherwise, you'll have to. Okay, we can do one thing. We can search over here. Okay, so text I want to change. There will be some parameters. Okay, or let me change at least this field from here, text view from the code. You can do it from the parameters also, but somehow it is taking time there, so I'm doing it from here. So enter text, enter number 1 is the text field associated with it. Then text size, let me put it and see whether text size, yeah, text size I want it to be 26. It's not there. Let's keep it as 24 sp. So it's say like it is increased. Then I want to change the color of it. So text color, let me do it from the code because it is, we have it available. I can copy it and then I can paste it after this. Okay, so then the constraint, let's do it from here. So you can see the constraint, this is put, it is start of the button, start of this text view is constrained to start of parent. Then the top of this is constrained with bottom of simple calculator. So these are the two constraints which are there in the design. Okay, start is constrained with the start of the parent, top is constrained to the bottom of calculator. So after setting this, the next is we have to set the margins, right? From the beginning, the margin is 30. So it's changing. So we can anyway change it from the code, and from the top you can see this margin is 50. From the start the margin is 30. From top margin is 50. So let me just go the parameter margin parameters must have added. See, margin from the start it is coming as 28. To be appropriate, let us put it as 30 over here, and from top the margin is required is 50, right? 50 dp. So that is what is done. So you can see the changes are happened over here. Then let us put the next text, number 2 text, because and then go ahead and put the required labels. So I'll just go to this code. The code, I mean the content of okay, the label of this is text v. What is the name of it? Is num1. Correct? Yeah. Num1. We will go ahead. I'll just copy this and create the second text view. The name I should change. It is txtv num2. Enter number 2 is the text. Other than that, we have to change the constraint. Now, see, when you are looking at this label number 2, start of it is constrained with the start of the parent. Top of it is constrained to bottom of number 1, right? So top of it is changed, not constrained with the top of calculator, the top of this label, but it is constrained with top of label number 1, and that is where this ID comes into picture. So what is the idea of a text view with content as enter number 1? ID is txtv num1. So put that constraint and just putting it as ID text of num1. So this is done. So let's see the design. So this label, it comes properly, perfectly, and the constraints are set up properly. Okay, again go back. Let's put the result as well. I'll copy paste. I can take this and copy it and paste. We are setting up text v result. Is the ID associated with it. Change the text. Text is changed to result, and then start of it is constrained to the start of parent. Top of the result is constrained to bottom of text view with content as enter number 2. So this is the text view with content as enter number 2, and the ID of this text view is text v num2, right? So text v num2. The result label, this particular label is glued with text v num2. Okay, so that is done. Once this is done, see again your design field. All the 3 parameters are put like this. Okay, that is exactly what we wanted. Now let's put up this 2 edit views which are used for entering num1 and num2. Right. So edit view, what I said, is a plain text. I'll just put it over here, and then we will manipulate it right from the code. So edit text is put. Let us change the name of it. It will be txt num1. Right. txt num1 is the name, is the identification for that text. Rep content is fine, and then the name of it, we do not want anything to be displayed, we want it to be blank. Okay, so if I'm using rep content, I'm giving some blank spaces over there. Let's put up the constraint. See, now look at this. The constraint for this particular label, the top constraint is set to the top of top of text view with name as num1, Okay, and even this 50 over here, it shows that this is the constraint. I mean, the bottom of this is constrained to bottom of num1, and the start of this is constrained to the end of num1. I mean, this txt num fit. Okay, and end is constrained to the parent. These are the 4 constraints which we need to specify. So let that constraint specification, I feel it is easier to do from design. So what I said is top of this. Okay. Top of this is constrained to top of this label. It's not happening. Yeah. Yes. Bottom of this is constrained to bottom of enter 1, and this is constrained with, I mean the start of it is constrained with end of enter 1. So see the code, all these 3 lines are added over here. Okay, bottom is constrained to bottom of num1, and start is constrained to end of num1, and top is constrained to text v num1. So these constraints are set up properly. Then after this we have to set up the margins, right? So I'll just go to design and move it little bit, so the margins will be set perfectly fine for this. So what are the margins which are required? It is not specified over here. Let's put some, this margin looks fine. Okay, so top bottom, it is 50. The distance between center of bottom of this label with the center of bottom of this number 1 is 50. Let us change only that, otherwise it looks fine. So go to code. Margin is 44. Let's change this and see what is happening. Let us put it as 50 and see the design. Okay, it's fine. Maybe the text field, it is big. Let me reduce it. Okay. Yeah. Similar code we can put, I mean I can copy paste this code and do the second label, the next label, which is used for entering text of num2. You can see that there are some, this red lines, I mean red lines which are shown, that which shows that something is wrong. What is wrong? The idea of 2 views cannot be same. That if you are using num1 over here, txt num1, same txt num1, not possible. It should be unique. So here it is txt num2. Okay, and the constraint are with respect to txt v num2. I'll just change the constraint num2. Num2 is the label associated with enter number 2 text view. Okay, so that is what is done. You can see the setting is happening perfectly fine. Okay, then go back again to the code. We have to do the same. We have to take for this number. We do not want user to alter the result. Okay, that is why we are using text view there. Text view can be changed from program. So I'll just change this. It's not edit text, it is text view. Okay, and name of it is txt view. This is the convention I said I'm using. So result 1 is the name of it, right? And constraints are put up with respect to this result field. Okay, so I'll just change the constraint. It is with respect to text v result. So everywhere this will come instead of this top, bottom, start and top. They are constrained with result field. And let's look at the code design and see. Yeah, so this is come here. Let us move it. As per the design, it says some 120 spacing by start spacing is 120 maybe. Yeah, so this is where we'll be putting it. right? Yeah, check the code. Have we changed? Yeah, apart from the font, I mean the size of the font, everything is looking fine. We have not done the change in font, or let us do it. Text size, sorry, something else came. So let me make it as text size. Which parameter? Text size only. So control C, num1 20. Okay, it's set. Maybe like since it is minimized, I'm not able to see. Okay, it is set. Yeah, fine. Now what else is left is include. We have to include buttons, right? So buttons is quite simple. Just button layout with wrap content. As per the content, the size width will be taken. As per the content, height will be taken, and yeah, this always happens. Then the text of it, text size, I'm taking at 20 SP. Then text, what is the text? For first button, the text is add. Yes, the important parameter is about ID setting over here. So ID of this is but, add is the ID. Then the constraint. So after specifying all these parameters, we need to specify the constraint. So this I do from the design. But yeah, it got added over here. So start is constrained with the start of parent. This is constrained, top of this is constrained with the bottom of result, and I will take it little down. So we want it is to be around 56 something dp down, and this side it is 16. Okay, so this is about putting the button there. We will put the next button from the design, or let me take it from the code. Yeah, see here the ID is highlighted. Okay, the ID field is highlighted, implies that it is wrong way of specifying ID. So we have to specify it as @ plus ID/add button. Highlighting went, no error, right? So I'll just make a copy of it and make sub button. So the next button what we are creating is sub. Button sub is created. The text of the button I will change, and then the alignments I'm going to change. See, for this sub button, start is glued, constrained to the end of add button. Top is glued to the top of add button, and bottom is glued to the bottom of add button, so that when we are moving this add button, along with that the subtract button will be moved. We do not have to move it separately. So go to the design. So sub button, you can see it's placed over here. So we have to delete this constraint. See, the top of this is constrained to the bottom of result, right? So let us, we do not want this constraint as per the design, so I'm just removing. How do you remove? Select it, click on it, and just press delete. It will be deleted. And also this start is a constraint. Now all the constraints are removed. Now let's put up new constraint. Start of sub button is glued to the start of add button. Top of sub button is glued to the top of add button. Bottom of sub button is glued to bottom of add button, and start of sub button is glued to end of sub button. Done. Now we have to put some spacing. As per the design, the spacing is 10, 16. It's some 10 or something. Okay, I think it looks like 10. So I can change it here if I cannot change there properly. So margin start 10. You can see two buttons are clicked very nicely over here. Then let us add two more buttons. We cannot copy multiple views together. So one view at a time. Okay, so this is I'll go to design and change the properties of it. So this next button is Mull button. ID is Mull. Change the text to Mull, capital, and then we are changing the constraints. So top of Mull, we are doing it with top of. Yeah, this also will work fine because one anchor. What is okay? I have to delete it. Unless I delete, like no new constraint can be formed. Okay, so I have deleted all three, and now we will set up a new constraint. Yeah. Okay. And Control C, Control V. We have put up a new button. We will change the text and other things, but let me just remove these constraints and set up the new constraints. See, when I'm doing something, there are multiple ways of doing it, and there are multiple ways of designing it. Okay, name I'll change from the code. I do not want the label, I mean ID of this particular button, to be Mull to it. It is division, just change the label. Okay. So these many things we have done, and then like our application, the layout is ready. The first part, layout is ready. Then let's go ahead and do okay, any doubt in this? Let me just quickly see. All right. If in doubt, please stop me at any point and get it clarified. Okay. Now let us go ahead and do some activity with it. Right. Design is ready. Now let's work on the activity. So by default, we have a class, public class main activity, which extends from app compact activity. Whatever basic things are there required for placing your layout on the activity will be done over here. So when you work with your C, C++, Java, your program execution starts with main function. When it comes to the Android programming, program execution starts with a function called as onCreate. When app is created, what should happen is described in this function onCreate. It starts with onCreate, and by default, whatever is there in your XML file is loaded in your activity underscore main XML file is given as the layout. That is why you can see in your in your design view, what you can see all these parameters. Right now, next is, and when you execute, you will be able to see it. Now we have to do some operation. Right, so let us concentrate on addition operation and see how do we go about doing it. So to do that, we have to create, see, we have to these buttons, When the button is clicked, we should read whatever is there in this edit text of number 1 and edit text of number 2, and addition should be performed and the result should be set in this result field. Okay, these are the things which we should be doing. So let us write a code to do only this, and then we will look in detail with other things. So to do this, what are the objects which are required is, we require object of button class, but add is the object. I'm creating, sorry, not the object, reference to but add. Then we are having but sub, then but. So let us here I will just use the object as but underscore. These are the names what I'm giving. Okay, when I'm using it in Java, I just separate it with underscore. That's all, nothing else. So add sub mul, and we have but underscore d. So these are the 4 buttons which are created. Now, like, see, you can see over here it is red. Okay, so we do not know why. So just check the help available cannot resolve symbol button. So for that we have to import the class. So just click on this import. So that import wizard button class package will be imported, where the definition of the button will be given and the error will be resolved. Then next we are having the next what do we require is text view for mapping to the result field. So I'll just say txt res. Okay, now again we have to import it, right? Error, show content, show the corresponding actions which we can take. So there was the action to import the file, import the package. So that is done. Then we require some edit text for identifying num1 comma text num2, right? Semicolon. Again, right click on it, show contest actions. Click on it, import class is one of the options, and that is what we need to do. Now we have created this buttons text view edit text in Java. How do we get the reference? So to get the reference, we have a function find view by ID. Okay, so but add should be referring to add button in our layout. Okay, should be referring to add button in the layout, and that is what we will be doing. So button find view by ID. All the resources are available in our package r.id. What is the ID which we are mapping it to? But add, right? So I selected it. So now like but underscore ID is reference to this object, but add object from XML file. Similarly, we have to do the references to sub, mul and du. So I'll just change this, names. Add sub, mul, du, and yeah, it should be referring to corresponding button. So when you are doing it, it will come automatically. Du, right? So these are the references which we have set for buttons. Similarly, we have to set a reference for txt underscore result. I mean, okay, I can take it directly. The same function or method is used for a result as well. res and but it's not button. What is it? Let us see. id dot result 1. This is result 1. It's not a button. What is it? Is it is a text view, right? That is why the error was there. So if you are getting error, it is a good sign you are learning things. Okay, it's not button as well, it is txt. Think txt res. This is what we had created. Enter. Then after this, txt num underscore num1, which is edit text, and find view by id. It's r dot id dot num1 txt num1 semicolon. Similarly, set up a mapping on num2. I'll just change this. This is num2. It's edit text num2. So mapping is done. All things are set. Now we have to define the actions. Right. So when button 1 is clicked, what should happen? To do that, we require somebody who listens, who is called as listener. So I'm just setting a listener for it. But add dot set on click a listener. Okay, this object passed is this for it. We have highlighted. So show contest application. Make this is the action which is required. See, it says that this set on click interface is not available. We cannot implement it over here. To implement it, we have to add this statement. Okay, and after adding the statement, on click event, on click method is added. Now, when on click, what do you do? Public void on click view v. What do we do is defined in this particular method. So we will be checking it. So what do we do over here? We have to read, you know, the content from which this field, right? Text num1 field. Add it with text num2 field and display the result over here. That is what we should be doing, and that is what we should be writing on click event of it. So let us do it. So we have double. The first input, the type is taken as double op1. So op1 is what? Okay, let me do it step by step. First step is we have to read the text, right, from the text field. So what is the name of that text field? Is text num1, right? It is mapped to txt num1. Txt underscore num1 is reference to txt num1 from XML. So we say we have a method. Let me write it over here. Txt underscore num1 dot 1 minute. It's not done. Some settings, some mappings have not happened. So you can see over here all these buttons are disabled, right? If the mappings are correct, maybe that will not happen. So name of the text field is changed or something. Let me just check. So otherwise we'll get it directly. Let me just check. Something is wrong over here. Let us figure out. Just a minute. Create content view. Okay. Just a minute. Yeah. So some spelling mistake, small error was there. So mapping was not proper. So we are adding over here on-click listener for add button, subtract button, multiplication and division. Now on-click, what is the code we have? Okay, I've just written the code over here. So first is like we are reading the text. So text num1 dot get text. Whatever text is available in num1 field is obtained by using text underscore num1 dot get text, and that is converted to toString. Why are we converting it into toString? Because that text what we are reading may have some blank spaces. To eliminate those blank spaces, we are converting it to toString. Once it is done, we want to convert it into float. So parse double is the method which is there under double class. Okay, so that method is used, and whatever value is there, it is converted to double and stored in op1. Similarly, reading the second text and storing it into op2 and getting the result. Now on-click function, on-click method takes view v. we check if v is equals to the label of reference label of button 1. It equals but underscore add. If so, addition operation is performed. Else if the label is subtraction operation is performed. Else if label is multiplication operation is performed. And if it is division is performed. Otherwise, by default, result is set to 0. Please note over here that we are not taking care of exceptional cases. We are assuming that user is entering correct result. We are not checking while doing the division. We are not checking if second operand is 0 or no. That can be taken care in the advanced version of this. And then setting the text of txt underscore result to to the result field. So value of res is taken and it is converted to string because the text field is a string, right? And we have set the text content of the text field. So that's all is done. That is the code written in the Java. It's small code because our calculator is simple. So now let's run it once again. Let's run it and see whether the things are taken care of, whether the application is working fine or no. So yeah, another maybe like 4 minutes, we'll stop with it. There is this error. Okay, see we have an error in our program. It says error. It is shown in this window. Error class interface or num expected. Something is expected bracket. So the closing of bracket did not happen properly. So on click is closed over here, and this is additional bracket. Right? Yeah, that is the additional bracket which is present. Let us do it once again and see. Yeah. I do not know why. It's working fine. I'm getting the display, but not able to show it on. Give me a minute. Let me just reconnect it. Allow access to phone data. We should select allow. Yeah. Yes, it is coming. Yes. So this is the app what we have designed. So we'll enter some number. Let's say enter number 1, 50. Enter number 2, let's say 40. Perform the operation. Addition is performed. The result is 90 is shown over here. Again, maybe some design parameters we have to take and see the alignment and all other things properly. So subtraction, if when I click subtraction from 50, 40 subtracted, result is shown over here. Then multiplication, operation is performed, result is shown. Division, performed, result is shown. So our app is performed, is perfect, and we have installed it on mobile. Loaded it on mobile. All right, so this is all about the design. So in this session, what we have taken care is we have taken care of the said objectives, learning objectives. We have learned how to design an activity by using constraint layout. We have have an overview of what is event handling and how it is done. and we did a hands-on on app development. And as far as takeaway is concerned, you can design a variation of this simple calculator that which is shown over here. So the difference between this calculator and the previous calculator is that in the previous calculator we are entering the numbers by using the text field. Over here it should happen with your buttons click. Okay, when you're clicking buttons, it should be the content of the button should be added to the text field of result, and later on whatever clicks are happening you should append it. And when user is performing like equal to, you should see what are the operations which are performed by the user. Let's say like when you are entering 12 plus 3 and then press equal to, user wants to perform addition. 12 plus 3 is the content of this result field. And user wants to perform addition operation. So when equal to is pressed, you figure out how to locate that addition and how do we add 12 with 3. So this is a takeaway for from the today's session. So I'll be continuing the session from at tomorrow 10 o'clock. So if you have any issues about it, let me know tomorrow. We will continue with our discussion in tomorrow's class. So yeah, that's all from my side. Any doubts? All right, people, then thank you so much. We'll continue tomorrow.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you.
Dear all, thank you, Geeta ma'am, for the wonderful session. Again, we will continue with the session after today afternoon at 2 o'clock. Please join at 2 o'clock. Thank you all.